that, and I believe that we are live.
Right.
So welcome. It's a rough night to be indoors, so I definitely understand why a lot of people probably aren't kicking around too much here, but appreciate you popping in and being a part of it. And maybe while we're talking, other people will join in too, but in the meantime, we can talk about what's going on and stuff. Want to thank you again for joining the the Code Camp meeting today too. I've actually taken Joe's advice and gotten some of the tasks in here. If you want to take a peek, I switched things around here.
Been working pretty hard on that.
Yeah, it's getting to be time to start really putting some love into it, and in fact, actually, it's kind of funny. I actually changed some of the teams around a little bit for the org team here, and added this this org committee team, which we did in the meeting, but Joe showed me how to add tasks, and I decided, all right, I'm going to call this love. Because these are the things that we need to do for our attendee love, our sponsor love, our speaker love, and our event love. So it's all spread out in buckets here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that legible?
Yeah. I'm trying to find it in Teams. Is it in 220 org team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up along the top, there's a tab called Love.
Okay, let me see. Activity, help. Teams. Granite State Code Camp. Org team.
Yep.
.20 org team. Love. Okay.
So I was just having fun. Maybe too much fun. I should probably just change that back to tasks, but
coffee, cocktail, socialize, sponsor packers.
There. Now I've changed it back. Changed the tab name back to tasks, but I still like the bucket names. So.
Okay. Let's see, what have you got?
So this is what we were, at least I tried to make sure that I got everything and then some from what we talked about in the OneNote.
Let's see.
I'm gonna rename this too. There.
So sponsor kit, sponsor tracking.
So these are all the tasks that go into setting up Granite State Code Camp, and actually there's going to be more, but this is a reasonable start for it.
Yeah.
And I added Code and Coda Lounge to the list of channels for the event, and
set up raffle management.
So how's your day?
Well, after I finished up chapter 9, I'm almost there's another big project, chapter 10 in the JavaScript class that involves loops, so that should be interesting. And then, so I have a couple more chapters left in the JavaScript. Pick some more tomatoes. Pretty quiet.
Al, still having fun with it?
Yeah. It keeps me mentally occupied, as they say.
Yeah, I understand. It's
My brain stimulated.
yeah. So we had a couple of bits of Microsoft news today. Big one being Microsoft Ignite. That's always been their big IT Pro conference, and that's usually sometime in the fall. Kind of Q3 time frame, pushing Q4. Some years it's actually been a little bit of a conflict with Granite State Code Camp. But they moved it to late September this year, and that was before COVID. And then they even further reduced it to 2 days for the fall, and decided that there would be I think a late winter, early spring sort of not exactly a recap. They're planning on splitting it into a semi-annual event, or not semi-annual, biannual. Does that make more sense? So it'll be twice a year.
Yes.
So
semi-annual. I think semi-annual.
Yeah, I think either one.
Years.
When I think semi-annual, I think every other year, but but I could be wrong about that too. But so it's a little bit interesting because that starts to push into the time frame of things like MVP Summit and Build and stuff like that. So I'm a little curious as to they're saying they're splitting it out into 2 events, but are they kind of merging it with Build?
It's semi-annual.
Gotcha. Okay.
Correct. Twice a year, half yearly.
Gotcha.
Biannual is I'm pretty sure biannual is every other year.
Okay, so I had it backwards in my head, but
well, it's one of those technical terms that you don't use that often.
Yep.
You could just say twice yearly.
Yep.
That way there would be no confusion.
Yep.
Or every 6 months.
So I was kind of hoping that we'd get Julie from NH Technical Alliance to pop in again tonight, but I got a chance to talk to her today, finally, and it was a very limited meeting. Unfortunately, I only got 30 minutes, so I was like, all right, I got a whole list of things that I want to talk with her about and all that stuff. One of the big ones being, all right, now that the Microsoft Store is closed, what opportunities are there for community spaces and meetups and stuff like that? And I know that we've talked about having them at New Hampshire Community College, but I really kind of like the idea of having something a little bit more retail-like. And so there's a serious possibility that there may be some space in a collaboration with NH Technical Alliance. Whoops. Well, hey Paul, how you doing?
Good.
So somehow you just totally traded places with Karen. So Karen was on, we were talking, and almost literally the moment you popped in, she dropped off.
I lost you.
There you are.
You were saying there'll be a space mistake.
Yeah, there might be an opportunity to collaborate on a couple of different levels. I can't really talk about all the details, but I think that there's going to be some opportunity to work with the New Hampshire Technical Alliance to possibly have some sort of meetup space that uh, could turn into something interesting. I'd really like to do something a little bit more like actually retail, and I really like the idea of that Ninja Coders thing. You know, the franchise that I mentioned a couple of times before. It's a really cool concept. I don't know if NHTA would be willing to consider, you know, kind of going in on something like that as a partnership, but or anything like that. But that would be kind of exciting. And I found myself thinking, it's like, all right, you know, the town that I live in, Merrimack, New Hampshire here, we've got a new development in a fairly decent location going in right off of exit 10 off the highway, you know, nearby, and right between Manchester and Nashua, and you know, otherwise a decent place for folks to come and hang out while their kids are participating in some meetup or something like that. I really think that there's some cool possibility there, but like I said, I don't know if NHTA would be willing to consider that, but I did kind of, you know, float the idea that I'm vaguely interested in seeing that happen. So, yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens there. It would be a great, I don't want to say replacement for the Microsoft Store. I really enjoyed having our meetups there, and I don't really see there being an immediate great replacement for it. But it would definitely be, you know, a nice alternative. So,
Yeah.
so we'll see. You know, there's other stuff in the works, and I'm really hoping to, you know, get some stuff going in connection with the Technical Alliance, you know, here in New Hampshire, and see how that happens. See how that pans out. So, Paul, how you doing?
Good.
Great to see you. So we were just kind of talking about Code Camp and community events and stuff like that, and what that looks like now that some of our previous venues have kind of dried up, and I'm sure we'll be crying about that for a while, but you know, it is what it is. So, so hopefully we'll get things sorted out. We've had the opportunity to do some sort of collaboration with Manchester Community College, and I really appreciate that opportunity. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad idea. I just find myself wanting to lean towards something a little bit more, you know, like I say, I like the retail concept where, you know, somebody can come, they can bring the family, they can come attend our meetup, and, you know, the rest of the family can go shopping, or, you know, if they're not interested in joining us. That's kind of what we had at the Microsoft Store, and the other fun part about it was always, especially around the holidays, a great excuse to get to the mall and not necessarily let your family know that you're there for Christmas shopping or something, you know.
Yeah.
But so we'll see how that goes. It should be interesting. And go ahead.
So if a retail space doesn't work out, I know for a fact that there's a lot of meetups in Boston um, well, for different programmers that they meet up in different they have corporate sponsors that allow them to use space.
Yep. Yeah, we've had corporate sponsors in the past offer space. And sometimes that makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. I never had a problem having the .NET users group at the Microsoft store, for example, or the SharePoint users group at the Microsoft store. But it always felt a little bit like a conflict to have like the SharePoint users group at a consultant's office, for example. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just feels a little too salesy at that point. It starts to cross a boundary from being a grassroots community thing to being a marketing effort for that consultancy. So that's something to that I've always kind of tried to avoid doing. Even for my own company, I didn't necessarily care for. I don't think I would have had users group meetings at my own company's office, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I could have in the past. Actually, when I first started doing users group meetings, I worked at a company called Edgewater, and they had an office in Manchester that we could have had our meetings at. And I never even approached the subject. I never even asked. Just because it felt a little bit too much like it would become a marketing thing instead of a real community driven thing. So I didn't want to invite people over to our office and pitch our services to them. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was a little bit different when it was Microsoft, because that was us going to them and pitching their services to other people. So
Yeah.
So that was a little bit subtly different, I guess.
Schools are out.
Yep.
Because of the.
Yeah, the kids are getting ready to go back, and they're still going to be remote 4 days a week and have the option, I guess, on Wednesdays. And that's entirely up to families, which is actually kind of a nice thing to do. It kind of leaves things at people's comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to bring your kids in, just don't. And that's fine.
I'm not sure what they're going to be doing in April.
Yeah, it's nobody wants to be responsible for it, so nobody's setting out a specific plan for everybody.
Right.
So, I mean, they're all the way at the top. They're like, well, we'll give you guidelines, and the guidelines are you decide.
Just make sure they wear a mask.
Yeah. If you're gonna be in a public space with other people, wear a mask. So. But. So Karen was telling us a little bit about JavaScript and what she's been learning.
Yes.
Karen, did you have anything that you were interested in sharing at all, or?
No. The lesson 9 was just an overview of arrays and loops.
Gotcha.
Nothing too exciting.
Yeah,
I really didn't do that much. I got a little bit of coding in, but really didn't get too much done.
So what the best part about things like arrays and loops and if else statements and stuff like that is, doesn't matter what language you're programming in, there's actually only 7 different program flow constructs, no matter what language you're using. There's only 7 different versions of flow of execution changes. So, like, you know, the if else and the for loops and the do loops and the while loops.
Wow.
Yep. And just the flat go to and the go sub, which is what we call a function.
So I remember it's basic logic. I remember studying it in my sophomore year or second year of junior college, Santa Barbara City College, and taking a logic class, which I flunked.
Oh.
I took algebra twice. I passed. First time I didn't do too hard. Second time I got an A. So that was 40 years ago. Yeah, I started college like 40, 45 years ago. I was in my 20s. I started college.
Yep. And
I'm surprised I remember anything.
well, the nice part about that is that none of that really has changed. It's sometimes different ways to say it, but the important parts are all the same. So.
Right. Yes. Who is it? The famous mathematician, Greek mathematician who invented all this stuff. What's his name? Pythagoras?
Yeah, he's definitely. It's funny because I think of the Pythagorean theorem like all the time when I think of, you know, like algebra and trigonometry and even geometry. That's almost the first thing I think of every time. And it applies to so many things. You know, of all the stuff that I learned in high school, I think the Pythagorean theorem and everything that relates to it comes up in my job more often than almost anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, not terribly often, but, you know, if I'm doing anything with graphics, you know, everything in graphics is triangles. And so you got to understand all that stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, so what you been up to, Paul? Anything in particular? Or?
Some reports. I do write a bunch of SQL queries, figure out some data. Like, hey, we don't have these fields in go pull this data out of some fields, some tables. Not sure where it is exactly, but stuff we parse through and kind of store away, but don't pull into tables. So I had to kind of figure out how to access that, get all that, and out of 200 different tables, where are they all, and what are the joints and so forth. So I got a pretty good report, but it was kind of thin on data, and asked for some help and got pointed to the right versions of the stuck a suffix in front of some table names and get the right ones, and came up with a good report. So just learn stuff. Tend to learn something new every day.
Nice.
Someone asked me for they have a kind of repetitive task on doing some date stamp stuff, so I could show that I cleaned up something I had used before and gave that to him. I could show that.
Sure. That'd be fantastic.
So it's a little limited in what I can show because it's it's a Windows batch file, and I have a Linux desktop, but I put it in have it open in text editor. Just to, I can't say I thought of this all myself. I some googling and tuning into what I need, but
that's how most code's written nowadays. It's all something from Stack Overflow.
Yeah, so I just got set up a bunch of all the parts of year, month, day, hour, minute with the particular padding, and I wanted 0 padding on month, day, hour, minute, and didn't really need seconds, and came up with this variable and just plugged it into in this case it was a copy in a template file, and I think I don't need those quotes. Copying it and throwing the variable in there. So I'd end up with I think it was like a some sort of log file to keep track of stuff with with the proper year, month, day, time embedded in it. So it was just I was able to give some user a copy of make a fresh copy of a template file every day. Just click this and use the one with it. Use the file with the with the date in it.
Yeah,
worked great.
Gotcha.
And someone coworker was this week was looking for something to kind of like do a similar thing, or make folders, that type of thing. So works great.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so is this an actual like bat file, or is this?
Yeah, I have it in a bat file, and I made up a fake fake file name for the last for the last line.
Yep.
But I think someone in the past, someone had like a Excel file with some embedded some code in it, and someone, not sure what my person I currently recently shared it with is going to do with it, but it's something that it's a use. I've got a lot of mileage out of it.
Yep. That's awesome. That's gosh, it's been a while since I've worked with a batch file. I've probably done more with like a Linux shell script than I have with a DOS batch file. It's just it's funny because I'm trying to remember the last time I used it, and as I'm reading the code, it's bringing back memories about the syntax and the funny little quirks like the for statement and the echo command. And,
yeah.
Ooh, excuse me. So that's awesome, and it's interesting how stuff like that never goes out of relevance. It's always like something that people need to understand and be able to use and stuff like that, no matter where you are, and especially nowadays, it seems like with the DevOps movement, batch files and shell scripts and stuff like that are really kind of coming back quite a bit. So
Yeah.
seems like everything has a command line interface nowadays again. So
Yeah, I have I don't have an example here, but I can for next week. I could do a one of uh, printers. Like at a previous job, I would especially when with Windows 10, it was kind of hard to find like the the printers folder and go figure out how to figure out how to add a printer, and people would be call the help desk, and it might be on hold and stuff like that. If I wasn't around, because it was only in like every other Friday, so I came up with like put a shortcut to a batch file for the particular printers to that area, and there'd be whole slew of people across the 3 shifts that would use these printers. Need to add a say printer maybe 7 8, and just have a shortcut on the desktop and then click it, and voila, they'd add the printer and wouldn't have to bother the help desk. And it was kind of just like one line of code to connect to the printer on the print server.
Yep.
Kind of slick.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about stuff like these kinds of things, that people don't realize just how powerful they can be. You can do so many things that you wouldn't necessarily expect was even doable with something like this, but there's a lot of capability just kind of sitting there latent that a lot of people just don't they kind of look past it. So very cool.
Yeah. Well, I had in that particular job, I spent a lot of time like just walking around asking people what was what can I help you with, what's bugging you, what's slowing you down, what's making you pull your hair out. And so I get some interesting things to go investigate and come up with creative solutions.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to unshare.
All right.
How do I
So somewhere on your screen you probably have the video stream of whoever.
So up arrow.
Excuse me?
There's a little taskbar, the up arrow. Sorry, Jim.
No, that's okay.
Trying to be helpful.
Yeah, actually, I think somewhere on your screen there should be a actually one way to do it. I can go ahead and steal it from you for a moment.
Yeah, if you could do that, that's fine.
And then
I just see one big red. I just saw one big red box around. But
yep. No, I understand. So thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
Yes.
It's fun to take a look at the batch file syntax again too. So I guess as far as that goes, I have still been working on my Sea Monkeys thing. I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record lately. I've been playing with Angular and playing with SQL a little bit and stuff like that. We had one little interesting detail that popped up that I'll go ahead and share. Just a consequence of working with small devices, and And basically what the issue was is that one of the sort of the project is that we have these small Internet of Things cameras sitting in a fish pen where they're raising salmon, and they literally are taking pictures of the fish. But one of the things that they do, in addition to trying to get a feel for the health of the fish, is they also measure ambient temperature of the water and a few other ambient conditions. And so one of the things that came up recently was that they discovered that some of the telemetry that was coming back from the devices had some weird data in it. And so you can see from this query here that a big part of what this telemetry message from the device that's capturing images of the fish, it's actually capturing counts of what they call sea lice. So number of lice counted, number of lice that are ovigerous females and other females and the juveniles, and so it's actually able to visually identify the difference between male and female and adult and juvenile, basically sea lice. And but it's pretty amazing as far as that goes. That's an artificial intelligence application that does that. But the problem that they had with the telemetry is it takes temperatures of the water, among other things. It keeps track of the depth of the camera and what the temperature high and low and mean temperature for the day is. And they discovered that just over the past few days, where temperature high is greater than 100. So I'm pretty sure that these temperatures are Celsius. So anything over 100 is boiling. And I'm pretty sure that they don't want to pre-cook their fish before they deliver them. Let's see. Interval start. So I'm going to say, give me...
Jim, it depends on your altitude.
That's true. But we're talking at sea level. So, I mean...
Gotcha.
So at maybe 30 feet, according to the device depth here. Actually, I'm curious now that you mention it. But that is a good observation. Thank you. Joe, it's good to hear you.
What's up?
So we were just talking about the fact that we discovered that some of the mean temperatures have been coming back with a mean temperature of over 200, almost 300 degrees. Yeah, and so obviously they've got a sensor broken on the device, but it's interesting to analyze those patterns and see. It's a common IoT practice to try to predict when hardware is going to break, and so I found it kind of funny to think that maybe they should add a predictive model to watch the health of the device itself to try to decide when they should replace it. And because that's actually a common thing that we do. We'll like build a device and monitor like a refrigeration unit. Because like in the food industry, for example. So take the food industry where they've got lots and lots of refrigerators storing food. We'll build an IoT device that monitors the health of that refrigerator. So it has sensors on it that helps determine you know, what the current health condition of that refrigerator is. And when you take that experience and plug it into a cognitive model, you can find out things like, you know, you can actually predict when that refrigerator will break down. And that's like really awesome to know, because, you know, if you've got a lot of food in that refrigerator, you can do preventative maintenance before the thing breaks down and save all the food that's in it. And so I found myself thinking that we should apply this IoT principle to the IoT device itself and say, all right, when is the IoT camera itself going to start breaking down? And, you know, can we build a predictive model to determine that the camera should be pulled out of the fish pen and replaced? So, but it's an interesting issue as far as, you know, the predictive health and then reflective predictive health. So I thought that would be a fun one to kind of take a look at for a minute. So so that's all I was going to show for tonight. But Joe, I don't know if you got a chance to take a peek. Thanks again also for coming to the organization committee meeting for the kickoff for Code Camp 2020 today.
Yeah, right on. I saw that you set up the task list, but I didn't look at it. I just saw the tasks right as I was coming in here, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I had fun with that. Let me go ahead and share it real quick.
How'd that go?
It wasn't as bad as, I mean, actually it was nicer than I expected it to be. I was kind of messing around with it, and I realized that I could kind of organize the tasks into, you know, things that we need to do for attendees and sponsors and speakers, and then the event itself. And so I made those buckets, you know, and then I'm like, all right, that's attendee love, and this is sponsor love. And, yeah, it's so that's how I organized the task buckets, and I tried to translate the stuff that we had in the OneNote notebook. So thank you for that suggestion. I'm glad you brought that up, and I really wanted to use this when we had the other channel, but it wouldn't let me do it, and I couldn't figure out why until we played around with it today in the meeting. So I'm glad that we figured that out and came up with the solution that we got. So that's very cool.
Yeah, man, it looks good. I'm glad. You know, like I said, I've been using this task list for a little while, and it seems like it's pretty cool. I used Jira a little bit on a project for almost a year too, so it's kind of got that similar column look and feel, you know.
Yep. Yeah, we could actually, you know, something else I could do is take the Jira Scrum board approach. Instead of breaking these down according to these categories, we could say, you know, these are backlog items, and
yeah, that's how I've seen it done before too, right?
Yeah, and then have these are in progress, and these are, you know, these are done but not validated, or, you know, these are done and validated and deployed, or, you know, something like that. So I kind of liked this breakdown for, you know, a non-software project, but then again, this is Code Camp, so, you know, maybe a sprint board does make sense. So,
well, I like, excuse me, I like organizing it a little bit into like a must-have done and a nice-to-have done, and, you know, if there's time left. So kind of like, you know, more like priority, grouping them by priority.
Yep. Yeah, that's something to consider too. So there is a priority field in these that we can do this.
Yeah, cool. Also, There's, it looks like a couple out of the box views, like by date or schedule. So if you put due dates on these things, then you can probably click on that schedule button at the top left. Chart or schedule.
Nice.
There
Yep.
you go.
So we can do that. We can also say, well, nothing start. Oh, actually, this gives us sort of our Scrum board thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So just group by progress and move these over to what's in progress and what's not. So
Yeah, I wonder if you can kind of add your own sort of progress buckets.
yeah, that's a good question. I'm wondering. I mean, I'm okay with
Edit the field. I don't know if you can edit those fields and add like another choice.
No, it's just those. Oh well. But that's not bad. I mean, this is still quite. This is way better workable than the OneNote notebook pad that I was setting up. So, and far more advanced than anything I've ever used on a code camp before. So, oh, we could even change these. Ooh, that's so it's like another level of organization.
Yeah, like folders.
Yep. Well,
Like folder tabs.
well, this could be, like no label. So this is the backlog, and then we could say, assigned. Yeah, we can play around with this too. So.
Can you open this up in the Planner app from here and do more?
Probably. How would I do that? Ooh, wow. This is fancy. This is so much nicer. But let's see. How do I open this? More options. No, that's the chat. So there's probably a way to do it. I'll have to play with it and see if I can figure it out. But yeah, I really appreciate you pushing to make us, look at this again, because that was definitely worth making the change that we did for. So, very cool. You still there? Did we lose you?
No, I'm here. That's cool,
Okay.
man. Looks good.
All right. So how you doing, man? What you got going on today?
Well, if you want to keep sharing your, well, no, probably you don't want to keep sharing your screen. I've been working on that 365 app that I started on. I was hoping to have V1 published by the end of this week. I have like very, very close to version 1 published right now.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to finish up some documentation this weekend. No code and coda this weekend. And yeah, so not much else going on.
Gotcha. All right. So so we've got. I'm trying to think what we got coming up for events. We talked a little bit about Ignite. Did you catch the story about Ignite?
No, what's going on?
So I mean, it's obviously going to be virtual. No surprise there. The big thing that everybody's still trying to figure out is that they've decided to, rather than have Ignite be a big 5-day event like it usually is, they're only going to have it be a 2-day event in the fall and then a 2-day event sometime in 6 months ish, which will, I mean, so from September, that puts it in kind of the March time frame, which is right around the time of like MVP Summit, and which is generally considered a big internal Microsoft event. So it kind of collides with that. It kind of gets in the space of Microsoft Build. So it's a little confusing. I have been hearing that they're talking about kind of converging Ignite and Build. So maybe that's what this is going to be, is the convergence of Ignite and Build. And they'll probably just settle on calling it Ignite because of the two, Ignite tends to be more popular. I tend to prefer Build just because Build is the one for people who like to press F5 to compile. Whereas Ignite is, press F5 to refresh. So, but that's that's what Build has always been, is the professional developers conference, where Ignite was the IT pros conference. So, but other than that, can't think of any other major events. I mean, this is where we'd usually say, all right, don't forget to watch Code and Coda. But we don't.
Well, there's a meteor shower happening, and it's peaking next week.
Ah, that's great to know. Thank you. Definitely have to take a look for that. In the meantime, I'll say we do have Granite State Code Review Nightly. Actually, it's funny because I scheduled Granite State Code Review Nightly to repeat every night on Meetup until July 31st, which was last week, and I didn't even notice that it stopped appearing on the Meetup calendar. We've just been cruising along without it. So I put it back on the calendar today, and so it'll be on meetup.com again. But it's still been going pretty good without it, so which is cool. But yeah, so so I can't think of any other immediate events to talk about or plug. We'll be opening the call for speakers for Code Camp in just a couple of weeks, but keep an eye out for that. And other than that, is there anything else anybody wants to bring up before we call it a night? Oh, Paul, if you're saying something, you're on mute.
Do you need a fish joke for your project?
Oh, sure. Oh, you went silent again.
Yeah, I guess my fish joke.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Now I gotcha.
Yeah, some other time.
Okay. All right. Well,
I mean, I'm here. I got a minute. I'll listen. I'm here.
yeah. I'll.
Karen's probably sleeping. But,
Nope,
there's Karen. Uh-oh, Buttercup's crying.
I might have something Monday. We'll see. I'll get through the chapter 10.
Oh, so can you hear me?
Yes, we got you now. Yeah. Oh, you went silent again. There's something weird with your mic going on there.
Yeah, I think it's your
So
headphones.
a friend of mine likes to. Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out.
All right, we can try next week.
Sorry about that.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Yeah, you're solid now. Oh, now you're gone.
All right, we'll skip it. Okay,
All
so
right.
you can hear me.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Damn.
All right, folks. We'll catch you.
I'll try a different headset next week.
All right.
Okay.
We'll catch you Monday night.
All right then. All right. Good night, all.
All right.
Night.
Have
See
a
you
great
guys. Good
weekend.
night.
Thanks again for coming and thanks for
Bye.
sharing.
Next.